So today I've got a game that's almost like a puzzle because you're going to be fitting some pieces in. You're going to come up with 3 things that you are ashamed, maybe, or don't want people to know about you. It might be that you're ashamed, or it might just be because people don't understand it, but 3 things that you don't want people to know about you usually, or all the time. It's actually better if it's like, man, I don't even want my closest friends and family to know this, because that means it's got even more power and it's even more of a don't want, or it's even more of a hidden thing. So, or even like that you don't want to admit about you. That one's big too, where it's like you try to hide it from yourself too. Like 3 things you don't want to be true about you because you don't even want to admit that about yourself. Like, okay, I'm really judgy, or, I'm a procrastinator. Maybe you do admit that, but you don't want other people to know that. Or, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's like, I don't even enjoy human beings much, or I don't like society, or I'm only interested in, or I fantasize about being in high society all the time, or something, that you don't even want to admit that about yourself because it doesn't fit with all your other ideals, or you don't want anyone else to know that either, you don't want them to know that because you don't even want to admit it yourself. So find something juicy. Find at least 3 things. Write down more if you have more, that are all things that you do not at all, you reject kind of about yourself. You do not want others to know. You hide them. You don't want yourself to know either. You deny them. You don't admit them to yourself. Then, with those 3 things, and you can do this all in one sitting, absolutely. But then as you continue to think of this, as the weeks roll on, whenever you realize a new thing, because it's funny when you do these types of activities and you finally ask yourself questions that you haven't asked yourself before. Like, have you ever asked yourself which things you don't want to admit about yourself, which things you don't want others to know about you? But once you have asked yourself that question, now it's on the table, and now you'll think of it later. You'll realize like, ooh, that's another one of those things that I don't like to admit about myself, or I don't want to. I don't even want to. Somebody called me that, and I'm pissed that they did. There's a little bit of truth in it. That's why I'm so pissed, and I do not want to admit that I'm a little bit of a control freak, or that I love to have authority, or, whatever, or that I get kind of hopped up on authority or something like that. So now you'll know, and they'll come up. So through the weeks, if any time these come up, then cool, play this game. Find those 3 things, and then take those things, and you must find a missing puzzle piece or whatever. You must find a character in history, in a book, in a movie, in a TV show, a current character in the world and society, but find a character whom you like, someone that you respect and that you enjoy, that you like, a character on a show that you're like, yeah, I like that character, or that character in that book that you have respect for and you liked them, you enjoyed that character, that has that same attribute, or that has that same aspect that you are wanting to deny or shun or reject or not let anybody know that you have, like, I don't want anybody to know I'm power thirsty or something. But man, there was that, whatever Lucy character in that TV show or something, and she was totally power hungry, but I loved her because she was also intelligent, and she had this way of like taking that power hunger and turning it into, this really captivating story. She lived a life that might not have been, whatever ethical completely, but it was totally filled with love, and she lived it to the fullest, and she stood by her own self, and she never abandoned her. You know, she might not have done everything perfectly, and she might have messed things up, and yeah, she was power hungry, but she never abandoned her. She stuck to her guns and was like her best friend, and like always stayed true to herself, and like I loved that character. So you're going to do what you just heard me kind of do in that example. You're going to find this character that has the attribute that you want to reject, and then you're going to flesh them out and kind of give yourself a little like, okay, what is it about this character that I like? You know, elaborate a little. And then you might, in that elaboration, easily see the connect the dot of like, oh, okay, so that's how that fits into her persona. But basically you need to tie it all up into her persona or his persona, because, you know, character can be whoever. I was just using my example. You know, it could be a current figure in society. It could be a previous historical figure or book character, but when you find someone that has that attribute, you don't just say, all right, well, yeah, sure, Lucy has that attribute. And don't give it any more thought. Like, kind of really tie it all together and be like, okay, well, what did I like about her character? Why did I like her? And how did I like or end up liking that aspect of her? How did that fit into her package? How did that element of power hungriness or judgmentalness or whatever fit into her character? What role did it play? How did it interact with her other attributes? And how is it that I could still like her? And, you know, sometimes there's really nothing that's really rational about the how could I have still liked her. It's just like, because I did. Because I did. I mean, she was really power hungry, but she lived a full life and was true to herself and whatever. And I really liked her. I liked her because, hey, what does that tell you? Maybe being true to yourself matters more than that kind of thing, like being power hungry to you. Or maybe the power hungry stuff played a role in it, you know, like she loved power. She respected power. Maybe it was like, you know, she respected power because she had such reverence for power. It made her hungry for it, but it also made her respect and revere the power within herself so much, and it made her grab onto power and like really use it when she had it. And that is where that other aspect of her really staying true to herself like came from. You know, that was because of that reverence for power, or because she looked in her inner self and like saw the power within and was always willing to like harness that power within and use it wisely and stick true to herself, you know, or whatever. So you can start to see how those things tie in with each other, and it does give you some perspective. It definitely is this little roundabout way of being able to integrate these things about yourself that you might not like or might not want to admit, might not want others to know, but you can see them in a different light when you see them outside of yourself in another character, and you can kind of integrate them into your person a little better and see how they also play a role in you and making you who you are. And it's not so unlovable, and you don't necessarily have to be ashamed, or, you know, this can be a part of you, or it is a part of you, and you can see how it ties into you, just like you can see how it tied into that character. And I don't know, it just gives you this little way to like yourself, because you're noticing a character or a characteristic in yourself that you are in the process of rejecting or denying. And you're seeing it in a character that you perfectly like and embrace. And so then you can kind of extend some of that willingness to embrace that anyway to yourself. Like, see, I mean, I did really like that character. And so it's not, yeah, it's just, I'm allowing, it's this little sneak door in the back, this little back door sneak through, where you can embrace those things about yourself, integrate them, see the value in them, become less embarrassed about them, realize that they're not so bad, like any of the following. And man, even if you still at the end are like, but ethically, I don't think being power thirsty is a good idea. Cool, whatever. But you see how it isn't like it made her, this character, Lucy, this example character who doesn't exist. It made her, her, you know, and it didn't, her power thirstiness didn't make her unlikable. It didn't overtake her entire person. And so you can kind of see that it's like it lessens the sort of fear or the rejection. You don't have to reject it so hard. You don't have to hide it so much, because it doesn't, even if you don't want that attribute, but you still got it, it doesn't make all of you. And it's, you know, it's just a part of, and the character can still be likable. So anyway, I think you get it. That is your game. Feel free, like I said, to not just play it today, but let it be an ongoing game, because it works. It's a very interesting game to play, but it is hard to find the puzzle pieces sometimes. Like I've thought for like so long, like which character? I can't think of a character that has that or whatever, but I mean, they always come. They always come. Eventually, like it might take you 2 days and you'll be like, oh, that one, that person in that book or that person in history. Oh my gosh. Or they might come really easily. I also think that sometimes the things that we reject the most are the things that we kind of like or are drawn to the most outside of us, you know? So it's like all of my favorite characters really easily display some of the very things that I reject and disown in myself all the time. And that's like pretty striking, pretty interesting to see. All right, so see how you like the game.